Okay, I'm going to show how to replace a disc on a Champion skate sharpener. It's old as can be. First thing you do is undo the top. I think these are number 8s. And then you have to make sure the bail's out of the way for cutting the radius of hollow. This has got a left-hand thread. This particular disc rotates counterclockwise. No, clockwise. So this has got a left-hand thread. So if you're cutting like this, it's going to tend to tighten this up because of the torque. So the disc rotates clockwise like this on the Champion. It's got a left-hand thread. The largest disc this will hold is a 6-inch disc, and this is probably an industrial one used on some machine stuff. This disc is a 1/2 inch thick, and originally it was 6 inches in diameter. It has a 1/2 inch bore. This is the mounting surface here, and it was made by Norton. But cutting skates on this would just use a little bit of the stone, so it's kind of a waste of a fat stone, but they must have done that just because it was a commonly used stone, maybe for a grinder. 1/2 inch bore, 6 inches in diameter, 1/2 inch thick. In fact, it could use different thicknesses on here because of the way this is. You could probably put some shims on there and use a thinner disc. In particular on this one, the casting's cracked. Needs to be rewelded or scrapped. This is to cut the radius of hollow. It's got 2 pivot points just like the old Wissota S8. And with this stone here, if you had a diamond that would reach out this far, the pivot being here, the minimum radius of hollow you could have would be 1 1/4, which is really large by today's standards. So with this piece that's well worn in, if I go through and move this connecting piece even farther back here, it's going to cut a much larger radius of hollow. Let me see what I can do on here. This is a busted machine. The casting is cracked. So if I went ahead and rigged this up for use, the pivot point on this is here and the diamond's out here. So it doesn't matter what the diamond's doing, it's that where the pivot point is with respect to the end of the stone. So this would have a whopping almost 1 3/4 inch radius of hollow if I rewelded this up and used this unit. This is a Champion unit. There's the casting, it's broken on it. It's got a big old beefy bearing on it. Bearing assembly by New Departure Hyatt. It originally had a pulley on it. Looks like this. That was stuck on there. And some of these actually had a motor down below. And the bottom of this unit here, some of the Champions have a hole here for a stand. So you have a vertical stand, then you had a hole here that you mounted this on. So some of these were sold, came with a floor mounted unit, and that's a 2 1/4, let me see here. About 2 5/16 say hole. It's hard to tell. And this particular one cracked here. So it's for borks. What's interesting about this is the whole unit had set screws on here, so you could adjust the Z height to be anything you wanted to for any different type of holder, modern or ancient. On the unit here, it actually has a fairly beefy frame, but this was the weak point on here. It looked like I had a fatigue crack, and this cracked at one time. Busted off. The diamond on this is really really interesting in the sense that this granite piece or whatever looks like something from the Dark Ages, in the sense that it's got a big hole. Looks like they just jammed a rock in there, and that hole looks like it's about 7/16. And then there's the hub. That's the grandfather of all probably modern skate sharpeners.